right, let me see. Well, I guess we'll just go down. Like, what's his new videos? It says animal facts that we should have left in 2024. Wow! That scared the shit out of me.
Apparently learned how
What
to
the
pretend to be
fuck?
drowning to lure humans in who they view as
That scared
prey.
me. Oh my god, it's so loud.
I'm gonna call this animal facts we should have left in 2024, because after this I will not be speaking on this anymore. So this video went viral for
I have to change the
obvious
video.
reasons.
Let me see.
I really thought it was a joke, but from the comments and the sheer volume of people that tagged me, I guess not. So yeah, it's not, they're not pretending to drown. But the truth might actually be worse. You see these tiny dots, these pits on the crocodile? Well, they're pressure sensors, and a microdose trypophobia means a prehistoric sawtooth sledgehammer can detect the smallest vibrations in the water. A butterfly can go skinny dipping, and the oversized assault gecko can pinpoint its exact location. In fact, it's scientifically proven. You could blindfold a crocodile in a sensory deprivation tank and drip a leaky faucet's worth of water. They'll know exactly where it's coming from. Their jaws are more sensitive than fingertips, and it's why you can get away with this until a drop of sweat hits their mouth and you get your melon split like Fruit Ninja. It's also why if you see this, be wary.
Oh,
That's
God.
a pre-typed obituary. In especially
let's see.
murky water, a crocodile will basically T-pose with a side of spirit fingers to maximize their sensitivity to any disturbances, and any fish.
I'm gonna
in
make
its
sure you guys
hitbox
can
gets
see it.
filleted.
I'm gonna disable
So
my
yeah, we got a
wings because my
plus-size sentient
I'm
snare trap beast
well,
bleeding
actually
like a
know what?
nose
Actually
This
no.
armored demon's the only one slowing. So
Let me
that
just
could
become
be
a little
what's
bit
happening
smaller.
Or maybe the croc caught a body and just won't let go. Or he could just be dead, but definitely not pretending to drown. I mean, that would imply that someone witnessed the same living plot armor that disregarded 2 extinctions in water and tried to be a hero.
Became
Apparently didn't have enough
huge.
time for the crocs to catch on. And it's not like crocs are stupid. Mugger crocodiles have been recorded using twigs and sticks to bait nest-building birds like egrets into getting close enough to get fouled.
Is this better? Can
Some
you guys
Cuban
hear it?
crocs have been trained to respond to commands and even come running when called by name. Oh yeah, they can run, by the way. Crocodiles have also been known to work as a team, where a researcher witnessed one scare a pig into a lagoon directly where 2 others were waiting. Hell, they even warn you in Australia to never camp or get water from the same place
Aren't
more
these
than
like
twice,
aren't
as a
these
croc
called
will really
like
recognize
river
the pattern,
puppies in
memorize your routine,
Florida?
and then be right there to cancel your life subscription the next time. So yeah, for a brain in the weight class of a walnut, crocs aren't dumb, but sympathy baiting? That's a Bikram yoga stretch, and what surprised me the most was just how many articles reposted that video repeating it. Like, they really have people out here thinking reptiles unlock the power of manipulation. Now, to be fair, that might seem obvious to you, but to someone who doesn't yap about animals for a living, or, you know, watch them, seeing it in an article could be all it takes, and like a verbal virus, it doesn't take much for it to spread. So, for the sake of my mental health, I'm working with ground news. Because if I have to argue with one more comment, I'm gonna lose something. My mind, my fans, my freedom, it might get critical. Ground News is an app and website made by a former NASA engineer who saw a very real problem with the way information can be used as a weapon.
Bye,
and how news
Rafa.
outlets often feed on folks' biases. And the thing is, if you think you can't be swayed by bias, then you're exactly the type of person to fall for it. Ground News counters that by gathering all the world's news in one place so you can compare coverage. No tunnel vision here. You get to see the entire
Is
picture
this an
and
ad?
actually be informed. Like with the crocodile story. Here you can see it was covered by a modest
I'm like, what is he
13 sources.
talking
In terms
about?
of
How does
bias
this have to
towards
do
one
with
side,
crocs?
there isn't really a whole lot to go off of. But here you can see none of the sources were marked as highly factual. In fact, the majority were quite the opposite. So you see, it's a quick way to know what's what without having a know-it-all in a backwards baseball cap tell it to
There's
you.
so many
Another
fucking like
recent
apps
major event
nowadays.
was
Like
the
I don't
LA
really use
wildfires.
many.
On Ground News, you can see it was reported by 214 sources. And in terms
Wow,
of bias, it broke pretty much even down the
214
middle. But with bias
sources!
comparison, you can see that left-leaning literature focused on it being possibly the most costly natural disaster in US history, and right headlines, they focus more on the long-term ramifications for people and businesses and what it
Is
could
he
mean
talking
for
about
different
politics?
sides of the
Holy shit, bro. You
socioeconomic
should not
spectrum.
talk about
And with the blind
politics.
spot feature, you can see news that one side may not have reported at all. As a member of the Chronically Online, it's a pretty cool tool for me to have, and if you're watching this, you probably are too. So if you use my link, you'll get 40% off the same top tier, less than $5
off! Oh my
Advantage plan.
god! Okay, we might go
Make
to
sure you
memes
go to
after this, guys. I don't want ads.
groundnews.com/casualgeo or scan the QR code on screen to subscribe. But until you do, I'll just tell you, they're not pretending to drown. They're smart, they're not that smart. Like I said, these stories only get airtime when people think a wild predator has the same thought process as a person. That's exactly how you get this. You know, to this day, I don't know where this came from. We're talking about otters. They're not exactly the emblem of empathy. Male sea otters will literally kidnap a pup while their mom's out hunting and hold it hostage until she gives up the groceries.
Oh my
Otters
god,
don't
that's
mercy farm.
terrible.
You know, if nature's taught us anything, it's that a family ferret's more likely to throw its child into the abyss than ever try something like this. I mean, just imagine a sea otter trying to emotionally guilt trip a giant apex dolphin. That's another thing. Everyone calls them killer whales, but orcas are bully dolphins on steroids, whose original handle was whale killer. Yeah, you probably heard me say this many times. Well, I was wrong, technically.
Oh
Let
my
me
god.
explain. But it will get complicated, so I'm gonna need you to lock in. After this ad, of course. So cetaceans are basically mammals that stole the fish's entire flow, not from fusing or merging, but from the evolution that's converging. There's two types of cetaceans, baleen whales, you know, the toothbrush bristles for teeth type, and toothed whales, for obvious reasons. Okay, now here's where it gets complicated. The toothed whale family reunion is massive. You got everything from your flipper paralysis demon, the false killer whale, to the virtually extinct vaquita. There's 10 families of toothed whales, and within these 10, there's a super family with 6 of
vaquita
them
is like
called
extinct,
Delphinoidea.
yeah, or like
Super family
almost.
Delphinoidea is where you have your oceanic dolphins, porpoises, along with narwhals and belugas, because they're related for some reason. Cue the narluga. Also, notice I
Narwhals.
said oceanic dolphins. The dolphins that live in rivers are in a completely different party. But
They're so
anyway,
funny.
super
River
family
dolphins are
Delphinoidea
so
is where
funny.
you
They
find
got
the
such a big
dolphins
long
that, let's
beak.
be real, are the
Big and
ones
long
you think
beak.
of when you hear the word dolphin. And the biggest type of ocean dolphin is the one that can slapbox a seal into orbit. So to recap, any mammal that looks like this is a cetacean. Every cetacean with teeth is a toothed whale. A dolphin in the ocean is a toothed whale in the Delphinoidea family. And the biggest member of Delphinoidea is an orca. So long story short, killer whales are dolphins. Every dolphin is a toothed whale, but not every toothed whale is a dolphin.
What the
but
fuck?
Every
This
toothed
is so
whale is a cetacean.
complicated.
It's kind of like how every tortoise is a turtle, but not every turtle is a tortoise. So to answer, are orcas whales or dolphins? Yes, they are. By the way, let me know if you want a full video on that, because that was probably mad confusing. Because being an animal nerd long enough is realizing names really don't mean a thing. Except here, Black Panther is not an animal. You might be tired of hearing it. Well, I'm tired of saying it. And when I say not an animal, I mean, if you go to a zoo and try to find the exhibit that says Black Panther, you won't find it. 'Cause
you
it's
won't
not even a
find
name more
it.
than a description. It's
just a
panther
color.
that's black. And remember, panther is just any cat in the Panthera genus. So any lion, tiger, jaguar, leopard, or snow leopard in black could be a black panther.
What
But because
the
the mutation
fuck?
that causes it is dominant in jaguars but recessive in leopards, most black panthers are just jaguars with 10% tint. But black panther itself isn't an actual animal. That'd be like if we called every black wolf, fox, or coyote a black canine.
black
but then acted like black
canine?
canine was its own thing. It's not real. And you know what else? Alpha wolves are not real, I swear to God. Actually, they are. They are real, but only when you put a bunch of wolves that don't know each other in a zoo and they have to figure out stuff on their own. That's actually what happened. In the 1930s, Rudolf Schenkel studied wolves in a zoo, and after watching more fights in face in a telenovela, he just figured that wolves determine group politics by tearing each other apart. Biologist David Mech built off his work and came up with the term alpha wolf. What they didn't realize was that the wolves were fighting
They
over
basically kill each
resources,
other.
not rank, and by putting a bunch of randoms in one place, they basically created real house wolves of Switzerland. In real life, a wolf pack is usually just two parents and a bunch of their kids. What folks kept calling the alpha wolf whole time was just their father. Now, because I've done this before, I know someone's gonna comment, well, if they're the lead wolf, they're still the alpha. The problem is, the whole alpha thing implies that the lead wolves got there by beating the others like a Cherokee drum. Really, it's just seniority. Also, another thing I never thought about until right now is once the kids get to about 1 or 2 years old, they dip and try to form their own pack. In a zoo, you often get the same
They
adult
just
wolves
dip.
around each other constantly, and like any reality show, eventually that leads to tension that wouldn't be there in a normal pack. So normally, you wouldn't see any alpha wolves
Was
in
that
the
a
wild. And
plushie?
the same guy that came up with that would spend the rest of his career trying to take it back. And just as a final middle finger to anyone that still wants to argue, when the term alpha male was first used academically in 1921, it was by zoologist Thorleif Sheldrup Ebbe. And he was referring to... I'm not even kidding.
He was
talking
referring
about
to
the hierarchy where
chickens?
lower status poultry will get pecked on by higher ranks. That's literally where pecking order came from. So the next time a man tries you with that alpha male just know he's taking cues from a temperamental chicken nugget. Also, chickens are confirmed psychopaths. If one chicken starts bleeding, the whole flock will jump in and peck it to death. I think the worst thing is
Oh
that
my
people took
God,
the alpha
what?
dog thing and got convinced that's how you make your actual dog respect you. Cesar Millan has done an absolute masterclass of misinformation on the dog community. You really got folks thinking you gotta flex on an 80-pound pit bull to keep him in line. Imagine trying to play alpha with Cujo on creatine. We've gotten a lot wrong about dogs, and probably the worst thing, that a tail wagging means happy. That fact alone has probably gotten more people bit than anything. Basically, a tail wag means excitement. Excitement can mean seeing their person come home, or it can mean fear, anxiety, or the last warning before they put a canine-sized hole in your hand.
Oh my
And the faster
God.
the tail, the more excited Fido is. The question is, what kind? Well, science says a tail favoring the right means the vibes are good, but a tail leaning left could mean stress, so best to be left. Alone, that is. It's a lot more complicated than I just made it sound, but long story short, a
actually
tail
more
wag is
that's
like a smile.
complicated.
A smile can mean someone's happy to see you, or might even think you're cute, or that waitress is just doing her job and doesn't want to get hit on at work. Long story short, if you expect your dog to learn how to parlay people, then the least you can do is talk tail. Oh, another dog thing that's been bothering me for years.
I didn't
is
know
that
this.
Chihuahuas are the spawn of Shaitan. Now, I get the little dog thing. I've been personally victimized by many an ankle biter. But with dogs, there's usually a why. You just gotta look deep enough. Huskies are known for being donkey stubborn toddlers on 4.
Come inside.
No.
But Huskies were also bred as sled dogs, and not only would they have to be independent and make decisions in a dangerous work environment, sometimes they'd have to be willing to go against orders if those orders went against their better judgment. It's actually called intelligent disobedience, and for football fans, it's basically an audible. It's pretty important, because, you know, if Russell Wilson had it, maybe he would have ran the ball! Beagles are basically walking instruments, but they were bred to hunt rabbits in thick brush, and that same vein, keeping you up at 2 a.m. is how they communicate with hunters. So why are Chihuahuas like that? You know, I don't even think it's a Chihuahua thing more than a little dog thing. But I have my theories. A lot of times, Chihuahuas don't get socialized with other dogs early on. So the first time they see a big dog, which like any dog to them is a big dog, it probably scares the daylights out of them. Also, I think a bigger thing is owners be letting a lot of bad habits slide just because of travel size. So eventually it escalates. Let it be a Doberman and suddenly they'll know discipline. Actually, that's my biggest thing. A lot of owners won't correct bad behavior when it comes from a Chihuahuano. In fact, I've seen a lot of y'all encourage it. I've always said if a Rottweiler acted like a Chihuahua for a day, he'd be dead by dinner. Also, often what looks like aggression might just be fear. And if your dog tells you he's afraid and you don't listen because you think it's cute, but that's how you end up with a dog.
That's true. A lot of people do that.
Size might be part of it too, but it probably has less to do with it than people think. Long story short, if I see a kid wilding in Walmart, I'm gonna look at the parents. And likewise, I'm gonna blame the dog owner before I blame the dog. No clever transition, but another thing I've heard is that male lions don't hunt, or better yet, that male lions are lazy. And I can tell you exactly where it came from. You see, lionesses use the power of friendship to run down prey in open areas. It's pretty hard to miss. Lions are bigger, bulkier, and with a whole afro equipped, they had to switch up the playbook. So instead, male lions ambush prey by camping out in dense brush. Research shows that male lions pack up prey as frequently as females. It's just that in the olden days, you'd probably never see it. Also, before male lions even get a pride, they're in their nomad arc. Oh, they be lying on the ground permanently if they didn't hunt. Now, to be fair, male lions do stop hunting as much when they're in a pride, but not completely.
They actually, a lot of lions are lone, like lions.
That lionesses might struggle with. Basically, the lionesses run them down, and the main mercenary delivers the final blow. Now, they do only get involved about 10% of the time, but it's not because they're lazy. They just have a different job description. Male lions patrol the pride lands, mark their territory, and as you know, they gotta run the ones with any outsider trying to take his place. What you might not realize is, as good at hunting lionesses are, in some studies they got up to half their kills stolen by hyenas, or even other males.
Sorry.
Having a nearly 500-pound equalizer
I'm adjusting.
helps them keep what they catch. It's not lazy, it's just that lions and lionesses help cover each other's weaknesses perfectly, and clearly it works. They're the most notorious and feared pack predators in Africa.
Thank you so much for the $10 donation. I appreciate it.
There's one predator that animals fear even more than Mufasa and friends, and you'll never get it. It's us.
It's us. Yeah.
You might remember that an experiment showed that almost every animal, from giraffes to antelope, to even leopards and hyenas, were unanimously more afraid of the sound of humans than the cadence of a giant carnivorous cat. Which is how, to this day, I still don't understand how this went viral. Or at least I didn't, because not only did I find out where it came from,
humans are quite terrifying. Quite terrifying.
Kind of, technically. Let me explain.
It's always like in the movies too, in like cartoon movies,
where
it's like the animals the main character.
See us the same way we see puppies. Now, ignoring the part of the population that's terrified of dogs, the fact loses steam when you realize she got it from Tumblr. It's more likely that one of the smartest creatures alive see us as predators, but not their babies. Remember, it's proven that baby elephants that play the most grow up into more well-adjusted adults. It's why you'll see a baby-faced boulder chase around birds, dogs, and anything in between. So here's what I think happened. Baby elephants will treat humans like any other animal. Difference is, humans might be the only animal that'll see an 1,800-pound toddler barreling towards them and welcome it. In fact, the premature pachyderms probably realize that a hairless bipedal ape gives them the best response. So it's not really that elephants think we're cute, it's that baby elephants think everything's cute.
They're so cute. They don't have like a sense of like danger.
Manhandling people came from, and I wouldn't even believe that if I didn't nearly become one of them. Yeah, I went all the way to Chiang Mai to get bullied by an elephant's child. And I do it again. I actually made a video where I talk about it, along with why playing with one could be a bad time for
I feel like I'd be too
involved.
scared to ever play with like a baby elephant, or I just would be too scared.
Did not care for that video, probably because I talked about certain topics. If you know, you know, but if you don't, definitely give it a watch. I don't usually plug after I post, but I'm proud of that one. But that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure
Elephants are really amazing, but they also just so scary in a way.
See y'all in, well, hopefully in this one.
Because they're so big and so heavy.
In the next one.
Like it's like I don't know. Would you guys ever like go to play with like a baby elephant or and see its mother right there? I would be scared if I touched the baby elephant wrong. The mother is gonna fucking like ram into me and kill me. Oh my god! Oh my god! Fucking wait, are those geese? Those are geese.
Crash out. Here's the definition, and here's the definition, but in picture. And if it's not clear now, it will be by the end of this video. Crash outs exist in all walks of life. You know what they say. Where there's a will, there's a way. For a Chris to get rocked by a Fresh Prince flick of the wrist. But today, we're going to talk about the biggest crash outs in nature. And there's a lot to choose from, so some had to get left off.
Oh my god,
Harambe. Honey badgers, or Cape buffalo. I've said my piece on this roid-raging homicidal hydro horse on steroids. We already know Africa's Black Death is a hunter's nightmare for humans and lions alike. And I have an entire video on this biracial Black Air Force.
Sorry, by the way, the video for me is on the right because.
But what I will talk about are rhinos.
I have my like laptop there, so I'm sorry. I'll adjust it. I'll adjust it.
Anxiety tanks that'll buck up to anything from a butterfly to a buffalo. Except
dude, rhinos are scary.
Recent studies showed that the eyesight of rhinos might not even be that bad. It's just their attitude, which means that rhino fully punted a warthog purposely and unprovoked, while this one pursued an assault on 8 wheels and still went for a literal headshot. There's a reason why a group of rhinos is an honest-to-God crash, but they're not even the biggest crash outs in Africa.
Oh yeah, they're called a crash.
Like literally, they're the biggest. Whoever made this up actively helped escort people off the census, which they don't need help doing since elephants flatlined over 600 people last year. But it isn't until elephants hit must that they really become crash out kings. Must is when a sudden burst of hormones turns elephants into 12,000-pound drunk lusting frat boys. The word must even comes from the word intoxicated, and a down bad bull's testosterone levels can spike 60 times higher than normal. And that's where the crash out comes in. No animal is safe from an entitled elephant that can't handle rejection. Not even baby elephants. Eating a toddler because his mom won't relieve you? Crash out. But the real degeneracy didn't show itself until humans got involved. Yeah, it's that kind of story. Poaching is evil, we all know it, and it's often the older, more mature bulls that get hit the hardest, for obvious reasons. What wasn't expected was removing elephant OGs from the population meant that the younger, immature teenage bulls in must got even more out of pocket. And what do you get when you have unruly 6-ton pests with no father figure to keep them in line?
Oh no!
Hell if I know. There was a period in the 90s where 3 young bulls that got rejected by their own kind, resorting to violating and killing not 1, not 2, not 10, but 63 rhinos. Fatherless behavior for an elephant apparently means turning a rhino from a tight end to a whiteout, and it wasn't until the season more mature bulls were brought back in that the rhino ravaging eventually stopped. And it's not just males that can choose violence. We can't forget that time an elephant traveled across India just to life-deprive a 70-year-old senior citizen while she was getting water. For context, that elephant escaped from the Dalma Wildlife Sanctuary and traveled over 100 miles to the Rapai village in Odisha. Being homicidal for over 100 miles straight is already menace behavior. What solidified it was that same herd pulling up to that woman's funeral later that day and paying everything but respects. And that same elephant grabbed her soul-evacuated 0 HP body and proceeded to put her in the negatives. Basically, she got put on a shirt, except the shirt was reversible. And after desecrating her corpse, the shirt was destroying the woman's house along with several others.
Dude, I wonder if that woman did something really bad.
Had it coming and was involved in poaching, and this was a case of an elephant not forgetting or forgiving. It also could have been someone's grandmother getting murked twice and memed on Twitter all because of RNG.
That's fucking insane.
We'll never know the why, but what we do know is my favorite animal is capable of crash outs of catastrophic proportions. And now we got the smallest crash out in the world. When a colony of Calabopsis saundersea ants gets attacked, some of the soldiers will rupture 2 huge poison-filled glands and literally blow themselves up. They don't just seppuku themselves, they also rain a toxic, corrosive glue that either traps the op ants in place or just burns them alive. It's self-sacrificing, altruistic behavior meant to defend the colony, but that is one hell of an escalation. That's
way too much.
Has a concept of kamikaze themselves, and they have toxic glands that actually grow as they get older.
Oh my
that means
god.
The same old worker termites with dull mandibles that can't fight or forage as well as their juniors also carry the most potent, explosive backpacks in the colony. So their last act of service involves eviscerating themselves in a rain of internal organs, intestines, and toxins, which proves that the most dangerous crash out is the one with nothing left to lose. For reference, that's like breaking into a house and the last thing you see is a senile 90-year-old rushing you with a bomb strapped to their chest. But the wildest crash out might be what pea aphids do when predator breaks into their because not only will soldiers come together and turn themselves into fleshy fireworks, they'll use their own bodily
Thank you,
fluids to plug up the
Spam Goose.
opening.
Thank you for the
Even if it
15
means
months.
they get left outside in past tense, even if it means they suffocate on their own insides.
I'm sure they're gonna
and
talk
even if
about
the process
goose.
senses
Goose are
subtracts them
kind of
instantly.
crazy.
It's one thing to
Or
self-destruct
is
to
it
backpedal
geese?
a
I
predator,
forget
or
which
even
one. Which
after
ones are
already
crazy.
being eaten, which aphids actually
I think they're-
do.
I think they're like
Using
Canadian
Flex Seal made out
geese.
of your own guts for home repairs is exactly the
I
type
think
of
goose
behavior
are
this
actually
video is
nice.
about. But
Geese
if
are the ones that are
elephants violating
crazy.
the natural order didn't already tell you,
Thank
the
you for the
worst crash
15
outs are the ones
months.
humans created. And this black Air Force B is the result of one of the biggest oopsies in human history. Back in the 50s, African bees were brought to Brazil and crossbred with their more domesticated European cousins. The idea was, if they could combine the two, they could create a bee that was more efficient than the Europeans in tropical climates, while also being less defensive than the African counterparts. But in one of the most consequential hiccups possible, a local beekeeper accidentally released 26 swarms of Africanized bees, including queens. But experts said not to worry, that the bees would either die out in the foreign climate or get bred out of existence by the already present European bees.
Yes, but actually no.
By the 60s, they made it across the country. By the 80s, they hit Mexico. By the 90s, they were popping up in the US. And today, the Africanized assault has spread throughout America like a rageaholic rash. And here's the thing with playing God with bees. You better be prepared for hell. These Africanized bees were way meaner than anything this side of the Atlantic had ever seen. They were way more aggressive, much less forgiving, and the same honey merchants that were enough to legitimately punk elephants, that's not a joke by the way, were doing numbers on unsuspecting people. You see, where European bees might send 10 to 20 guard bees after you, the Africanized flying mob will pull up in the hundreds. And where European bees might chase you for a couple feet, the African variety will chase trespassers for a quarter of a mile, assuming you even get that far. The irony is, African bees have smaller hives. That means these gangflies weaponize a higher percentage of their hive just to go after you. Add the fact that the very smell of bee venom is like a Batman signal to the rest of the hive, and you realize just how badly that one beekeeper screwed us over. Speaking of venom, you probably know that honeybees die after stinging, since the stingers are barbed and attached to their abdomen, causing attacking bees to literally disembowel themselves. What you might not know is that stinger will continue pumping venom into you long after the bee has become a was. Now that's just doing the most. That's how you get stories of people being chased by vindictive swarms. Oh, and by the way, it's proven if you try to duck the fate by jumping in the water,
that's why they are so attracted to the bee venom.
Sometimes with fatal consequences.
Oh my
in 2013,
God.
a Texas man died after being stung over 1,000 times, and the bee still had enough malice left over to leave his wife and daughter with 100 apiece. It says a lot that the dietary habits of the Crash Out mascot might have helped create one of the most infamous crash crowds in the air.
Oh my God, what are we gonna
Crash outs are fueled
do?
by hate.
That's scary.
Some are powered by love. Courting bald eagles will interlock talons and plummet down towards the earth, only to separate at the last possible second. Because apparently feathery foreplay means death spiraling in a questionable game of chicken. Apparently, it's to test each other's fitness as a possible partner, you know, separate the strong from the strongest. Except it does the opposite, where the entangled avians crash land into trees, water, or sometimes straight pavement.
Wait,
and
these
take each
are
other out the
male and
gate.
female?
Bald eagles mate for life, so where do you even go after your vow renewal turns into a wake that only one of you is conscious for? A study showed that eagles will also
That's
death
actually
spiral with
crazy.
rivals, so it's really a case of either me or fight me or just don't waste my time. But that makes even less sense, because at least with a mate, the logic is you're trying to find the strongest, most eligible single to spend the rest of your life with. Handing death a 2-for-1 bundle deal because you had beef and literally couldn't let it go is the definition of crashing out. At least when it happens with deer like moose, you know it's really bad luck. But voluntarily interlocking toes just to die with someone you claim to hate, like, what's really going on here? But that relationship's nowhere near as toxic as the house sparrows. It's like Tweety listening to NBA Youngboy. It's a honey badger with wings and an op to every other bird, but especially their own kind.
Oh my God, the house sparrows! You see these all the
house sparrows are
time.
monogamous and mate for life. There are also serial cheating air strumpets, and 15% of sparrow children born aren't even related to the male raising them. Cheating isn't a foreign concept to birds. Thoughts and prayers out to the penguin that got dogged out, got his cloaca kicked by his wife's boyfriend, begged for her back, got beat again, only to get rejected and bust his the third time. Yeah, no way he goes out that sad. Male sparrows that suspect their partner of cheating get their revenge by purposely feeding their children less, bordering on starvation. The thing is, he has no way of knowing which chick's actually his. He only goes by how much time the mother spends away from the nest. Basically, imagine your dad starves you within an inch of your life, all because your mom spent the equivalent of 10 extra minutes at the grocery store. But female sparrows ain't sweet either. The difference is she cheats with better genetic quality, or you could say high value males, while the male cheats to spread his seed as far as physically possible. Except that the female catches on to the cheating, she responds by slaughtering his entire family, children and all. And it's scientifically proven that butchering the babies offers no advantage to the offending female. It's just pure love of the game. Cheating's never right, but when your get back gets children buried, you have lost the plot. especially since the females most likely to commit baby cancellation are second wives, as in they got with a cheater, got with him due to cheating, only to wipe out the entire first family. Also, I just thought about it. She also has no way of knowing which chicks are his. That means she really just life retires any baby sparrows she comes across. Yeah, that's a crash out of the highest order.
Oh my god, I'm never gonna look
right
at
up
these
there with
fucking
them
birds ever
has to
again
be
the
this
same!
frog. It's a culinary crash dummy off the fact that an Argentine horned frog would rather choke to death
You
trying
th-
to swallow
and you
something
think and you
physically bigger
think
than they
ma-
are than
human
just
male
give it
and
up.
women like
Scientists have found
have
expired
cheating
frogs with their
problems.
stomachs torn open
These
out of
fucking
pure
birds have
stubbornness.
it way
It's a gluttonous
worse.
breathing pot of greed card come to life. Not only that, they're terrible swimmers, embarrassingly
It's the
bad
pot
jumpers,
of
and yo,
the
they don't
pot
even
of
rib it.
green. I love these guys. You're so funny.
Fool themselves every aspect of being a frog just to moonlight as Jabba the Gut. They can even develop
Jabba the
amphibian
Gut.
corneal
Jabba the
lipidosis,
Hutt.
where they hold on to so much fat they literally accumulate fat deposits on their eyes that blind them. To
What
be
the
fair, it's
fuck?
usually from overfeeding in captivity, but my brother in Christ, even Nakado Avocado put the fork down at some point. Especially since frogs can't vomit, the best this kitchen crash out can do is fully eject their stomachs. But luckily, they're not a threat to you. Next is a crash out that the majority of the American audience has to sidestep on a daily basis. Which is funny, because the Canada goose nearly got caught in an
Here it
eternal milk
is.
carton
Here
due
you
to
are,
overhunting
Spam
and
Goose.
habitat loss.
Now
In
this is
fact,
your evil
we fully thought
cousin.
they were out of stock in the 50s, until a small
Evil
flock was
Canadian
found in
cousin,
Rochester,
right?
Minnesota. And with the help of the Migratory Bird Treaty Act in the U.S. and the Migratory Birds Convention Act in Canada,
yes, I knew
along with
these guys were gonna
conservation
come
efforts,
up.
the Canada goose was able to make a comeback, and humanity and geese lived happily ever. Absolutely not. Yeah, the cobra chicken came back with a vengeance. I call the sparrow an airborne honey badger. Nah. It's just barcoded assault with wings. Easily the most undeserved arrogance I've ever seen on an animal. And that's really what it is. This damn
thing went
velociraptor
straight
has some
for the
wildly
neck.
irrational confidence. They're like Family Guy. They nearly got canceled, came back, and by God do they not miss a chance to punish us for it. Even Sully's heroic landing in the Hudson wouldn't have even been needed if a goose didn't try to run a fade with a plane. Just proof that you
Oh
can
my
get a lot of
God.
mileage at a false, unearned
Oh, the
valor.
cows!
'Cause
Get
it's
away
a
from me!
bluff.
I'm gonna
Geese
kill
nest on
you!
the ground,
Kill-
so
I'll
they only
kill
really
you!
can respond to a threat to minor safety
I'll kill
by
the
implementing
goose.
the honey badger method.
bad
by raising
Canadian
hell until you
goose.
meet
I
someone
will-
that
I will-
takes you
don't
back.
mess with
Add
me.
the fact that they've managed to lose their fear of humans, and you have a honk happy
The
threat to
cows were
national
even fighting
security.
against
I've even read
us.
reports of them apparently luring chasing dogs into deep water just to attack and harass them until they eventually drown in exhaustion.
Oh
To
my
be fair, you could
God.
just leash your dog. Oh, also, goose tongue. But yeah, that attitude's a bluff, and they read body language, so act like you've been around a goose before and you'll probably be fine. So why are geese so mean? They'd probably be dead if they weren't. But at least they're not capable of really damaging
Oh my
anything but
God, the
your
guy-
pride.
this
Complete
guy right
opposite of
here.
chimpanzees, my word. Probably a top 3 crash out in nature, cause you really never know what could set this chainsaw with thumbs off. Change your hairstyle for the first time in 10 years? Yeah, you just lost your face privileges. Push one of your troopmates a little too far? Call it Kaizen the way you about to get jujutsu jumped. Do a fucking barrel roll? Absolutely not. Not in these parts. Chimps and really primates in general have a sense of fairness. Do something they view as unfair? Oh buddy, you finna find out why they're the prime ministers of unproportional reactions. This man decided to surprise his former pet chimp
Oh,
with a
no.
chocolate cake for his birthday. The real surprise was 2 male chimps getting out and mutilating the man for not serving them a slice first. I'm not gonna list the full extent of his injuries. I have a full
my
video doing
God.
that. Just know the first 2 hospitals denied him entry because they literally thought he was a lost cause. Monkeys in captivity have
That's
also been known to mob a
crazy.
member of their own for
'Cause he
receiving
didn't give
more
him a
food than
slice of the
others.
fucking
And when I was
chocolate
8,
cake
a chimp temper
first.
tantrum nearly had me halfway to Helen Keller. Almost had me rocking the Nick Fury fit. And we cannot forget that time monkeys in India went on a campaign of dropping dogs from roofs after one allegedly attacked a baby of their own. Yeah, primates are some Hall of Fame crash outs. Question is, what could possibly be more destructive? Well, tigers are easily one of the most vengeful creatures alive, and the moment this striped population control wants you dead, you might as well lease a casket. There's plenty of stories of tigers going from 0 to 1,000. In 2007, 3 teenagers that may or may not have been under the influence taunted 243-pound Tatiana the tiger, reportedly even pelting her with pine cones from a slingshot. Tati cleared a 12-foot moat, severely mauled 2 of the teens, and killed the third. In 2016, a tiger
God.
ripped apart an infamous poacher named Baby only 4 days after his group reportedly shot his mate. In 97, a hunter named Vladimir Markov not only shot a tiger, but had the audacity to steal his kill. As a result, the Whisker John Wick stalked his cabin, tore anything that smelled like him to shreds, including his mattress and bedding, and apparently even demolished an outhouse Markov had used. As you can guess, the story ended around the same time Vladdy did, once the Siberian assassin was there to greet him at his house. And then there's this. The backstory is that a mother tiger and her cubs had ventured beyond the boundaries of a park and had injured cattle in the process, so rangers went out to capture and relocate the trio. They successfully tranked and removed the cubs, but the mother was nowhere to be found. That was until about right here. The enraged mother cleared a full-grown elephant and managed to mutilate the mahout riding it, taking several fingers with her, and the fury on 4 legs was never seen again. But the most infamous big cat crash-out came in the early 1900s.
And that's, they were just trying to relocate them.
The man-eater at Chumpawat killed 436 people, giving her the highest human body count of any single animal.
436 people?
That the cause was a cripplingly debilitating tooth injury that forced her to go after easier prey. And that's the thing I do want to mention. I know I had fun with the crash out concept, but really all the tiger was ever guilty of doing was what came naturally. And that really goes for every animal on this list. Tatiana wouldn't have had to die and take someone's son with her if they hadn't gone and tested her killer. Travis was an overweight, socially stunted, Xanax-consuming time bomb that some woman decided to keep inside as a pet. Even the whole Elefino mess started with poachers destroying and fragmenting their families and probably giving the pachyderms PTSD. Like, I'll joke around and stuff for comedic effect, but I'm not actually out here judging animals by human standards. Because he said something real before he got Chris rocked and left with Fresh Prince.
Talk about the tiger went crazy. That tiger ain't go crazy. That tiger went tiger.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you drink
water.
That's
actually crazy.
There's no church in the wild and no judge in the jungle, so don't expect animals to follow either. And I'm gonna see y'all.
Oh, the badger. I'm surprised he didn't talk about the badger. The badger, I don't know if can badgers kill humans? Like, basically, in a nutshell, don't fuck around to find out. Yeah, don't fuck around to find out. Yeah. Yeah, I'm fucking shocked with the sparrow thing. I was like, what the fuck?